welcome to 2 Minute Moves TV, where you discover the little things that make a big difference to the way you feel and live your life. I'm Lizzie Williamson, and next to me is someone who, through all amongst the health and wellness industry, the fads and quick fixes that you often find, stands out with her realness, honesty, experience, and love of research. She has shared the stage speaking with the Dalai Lama, is a nutritionist who's founded A Healthy View, where she sees clients, runs online courses and workshops, has launched an amazing new book, The Australian Healthy Hormone Diet, and is probably the most driven and passionate person I have ever met. Michele Chevalley Hedge.
Wow, thank you. That's so nice. I hope my children hear that. Really, I'm just a mom with a lot of laundry and a dumb dog, but thank you.
Oh, well, thank you for having me over here. I'm so interested for you to share with us a bit about your health journey that has led you to writing this fabulous book. If there's been times in your life that you've struggled with food, exercise, stress, and I guess most importantly, what you have learnt that helps you and the thousands of people that you have helped or speak to, that really help you through times like that. Those things that work in our real world. You know what I mean? Those really practical things, and that's, I guess, what I love when I hear you speak, when I read your books, is I always can take away something that feels so little and yet is this massive game changer when it comes to your health and well-being.
Well, it's funny, Lizzie, because, like you, what you're doing is small little things, right? And the same for me. The reality is it's those tiny, small changes that lead to habits that lead to a lifetime of wellness, not a short-term fix. We've all done short-term fixes. We all know where that we end up with that. We end up sometimes going backwards, right? So it's all about those small changes that are doable. And if they're doable, they're repeatable. They're repeatable, they become a habit, and all of a sudden you go, wow, I'm doing this healthy kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really one of the big philosophies at A Healthy View, is small changes lead to great results, big results, sustaining results. So why did I write this book? People keep asking me that, and there's many reasons why, but basically, I've been running a clinical practice for over 10 years now. So we have 3 different practices in Sydney. We see patients all over the world, on Skype and phone as well. And basically, if you to look at the majority of people and what their concerns are, it's often weight, energy, moods, and sleep, right? And if you look at those things, people are constantly beating themselves up, right? Particularly around weight, constantly. But they haven't taken one little step further to actually look to see what their hormones are doing. So it may not necessarily always be the quantity of what they're eating or what's going on in their world. It could be that their hormones have taken a slight shift, driving their weight, driving low energy, driving lack of sleep, and driving low serotonin, which is our happy hormone. So what I wanted to unpack in this book was 8 different case studies of real life people that have gone on TV with me. You've seen them on stage, right? It's so gorgeous. 8 different people, women from the age of 25 to men till the age of 55, to talk about their experience with me. And so basically I've been running the same kind of hormone cleanse or hormone rebalance 28-day program for 10 years. It's not really changed. And then what had happened was a woman was in the cleanse group and she said, Michele, this is a no-brainer. You need to turn this into a book and you need to talk about this. So sugar was a big thing, and I wrote a book called Beating Sugar Addictions for Dummies. Gut health has been a very big thing, but the next thing that's going to be trending in health and wellness is what is going on with your hormone. What's going on with your thyroid hormone? Are you the kind of woman that eats like a bird, but yet you're gaining weight? Has someone looked at your thyroid? Are you the kind of person that is on cortisol overload because you're running on your adrenal glands, as most women are? Your cortisol is going through the roof, and that type of cortisol is actually possibly going to lead to a pre-diabetic state, even in a slim woman, because the adrenal glands are on fire, cortisol is on fire, cortisol dumps out glucose. This doesn't have anything to do with food, just stress. And you've got this glucose pumping and pumping and pumping. And a lot of slim women, slender rusters, I use that expression, right?
Love that.
Are becoming pre-diabetic or have insulin issues, the hormone of insulin, just purely due to cortisol and stress. Now you couple that with hidden sugary foods, healthy yogurts, healthy muesli bars, healthy smoothies, and you've got that insulin picture, you've got this insulin picture from stress, and boom, you've got a volcano of people with insulin issues. So, and that leads to all sorts of things, because too much insulin robs a woman, and too much cortisol robs a woman of progesterone, which is our calming hormone. So in the book, I've made it really simple. I've taken some really big concepts and taken them down into bite-sized pieces, because that's the only way I can digest all of that. And talked about how does the thyroid and gluten and dairy work together? How does processed sugar and hidden sugars affect insulin? What is happening with estrogen-dominant women when we talk about polycystic ovary syndrome, fibroids, adenomyosis, or heavy periods? We talk about estrogen excess. Why? What is going on with what we eat, creating that, and how do we get this liver clean enough to be dumping those extra estrogens? We say, oh, thank you, estrogen, for, giving me vitality, giving me a bit of a libido, giving me everything that makes females, right? Estrogen is great for our skin, great for our cognitive function, but we don't want estrogen excess. We want this to be working so well that we use it and we dump it and we say, thank you, goodbye. We don't want that liver congested. And people think, oh, I'm going to have to take liver cleansing supplements for that. Of course, they're out there and some are very good. But if we just eat mostly very low sugar or natural sugars only, if we eat high fiber, high antioxidants, lots of brassica vegetables, your broccoli, your cauliflower, we can cleanse this liver naturally every single day. And have a little bit of wine as well, right? So I always like people to know that, while this book is about 28 days of rebalancing and getting you back to a clean slate, a really healthy clean slate, I love for people to have a bit of wine and coffee in their diet. I think giving your body a 28-day break of eating clean, real food that is not about deprivation, but it's about abundance. Make your taste buds dance, right? And people to go, wow, I can't believe that 28 days was so easy. And I didn't feel like I was in deprivation. I actually had so much fear that I was going to gain weight, but I lost weight. Well, why shouldn't I keep going with this? Or why shouldn't I use these 5 principles that Michele talks about a lot? Why shouldn't I use them 4 days a week? And not on the other days have some wine and have coffee. And I go, perfect. That is exactly what I want. Because we don't need perfection. We're all moms. We're busy. We're, not just all moms, but we're all busy people. We all have loads of laundry, dogs to feed, cars to watch, parents to look after. So I'm never seeking perfection. I gave up perfection a long time ago.
Yeah, and you write about that in here when you talk about getting given up trying to live in an ivory tower.
Yes.
I'm not perfect, and you had to acknowledge that small achievements are enough. And did this came from a time in your life where you felt like your hormones, they really hit
insanely hit hard.
Yeah.
So 2 times in my life, I think that I can really bring this very authentic message, because you can't make up stuff that's so real, that gives you the chills, right? One is I was, my children were little, 3 babies, had my 3 babies in a row. My husband was working hard, and I was working hard. I was working at Microsoft, and my weight was fluctuating, rocking and rolling all over the place, like most women, trying to do well at work, coming home, doing the laundry, making sure that children were okay and everybody else was okay. So running on coffee, muesli bars, healthy smoothies throughout the day, right? Always struggling with my weight. Get home and finally put the kids to bed, and I'd have 2-3 yogurts, a half a bag of jelly snakes. It wasn't uncommon for me to be snacking on these healthy, fat-free things, right? Getting up in the morning, going on bicycle rage to the spin class, and getting to work on time, ticking the box of, did I hit my KPIs? And so my weight was fluctuating, my sleep was fluctuating, I was on and off the plane. Just some days just putting on clothes thinking, how did this skirt shrink? And I was like, the skirt didn't shrink. My waistline is expanding. And
so you were exercising all through your life? Exercise as punishment type of thing?
Totally. And abusing exercise.
Yeah, okay.
Right? Like trying to eat myself out of a bad diet, which is something that I think we'll talk about that more in a minute, because I think it's an important message. So, one day was the final catalyst in that scene of working way too hard and exercising way too much, was when I went to look in the mirror, and I couldn't even look at myself in the mirror. I could only go to the mirror and put my face in the corner of the mirror, and I put one mascara up on each eye, only looking in the corner of the mirror, because I was so cross with myself. And how many women are in that stage? It's a very sad thing to say.
A lot of shame.
A lot of shame. A lot of self-bullying.
Yeah.
I just wrote a blog about, stop the self-bullying, ladies. Like, if we do something wrong, park it. You can't fail at good nutrition. You can have fun with this. So at that point, I knew on that very day, I was like, wow, Michele, everything you know to be true about self-like and self-worth is really unraveling in your world. And you just need to come to terms with, I love food, and I want food to bring back the love of food. And I have a real love of medicine. So at that point I said, okay, I'm going to leave that world, and I'm going to study to become a nutritional medicine practitioner. I worked a little bit while I was studying before I made that full leap. So that was one instance of my hormones roller coastering out of control. Insulin, cortisol, serotonin, like my happy hormone would have been about that big, because I was just on that, train wreck. And then got my world together. I studied to become a nutritional medicine practitioner. I've always had the beautiful support of my children and my husband, who I don't know how he even puts up with me sometimes.
And happy anniversary, by the way, yesterday. How many years?
26 years.
Wow.
26 years. So, and I always wear my wedding veil on our wedding anniversary.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's so funny, because people are like, Michele, that's so crazy. Sometimes you're in Disney, sometimes you're in Barrel, and you're wearing your veil. You are a nutty nutritionist. I go, yes, that is true. So, okay, so the other time my hormones were really out of control, and this is just life, Lizzie, right? And this is where I say to women, we need to really stop beating ourselves up, because life can get out of control. And there's things that we can control, and there's things that we can't. And 4 years ago, my beautiful younger brother, Gregory, very dry sense of humor, George Clooney lookalike. He worked for the New York City Fire Department, and he was involved in September 11th, and he was a first responder. And he lived through September 11th, which was quite surprising, because everyone in his firehouse died. And so Greg almost became almost like a poster boy for 9/11, unbeknownst to him, because he was constantly digging in the rubble and whatnot. And before 9/11 had been issued a warning by the Environmental Protection Agency, Greg was at 9/11 when the second building came down. The Environmental Agency had never seen a disaster like that before. So they said, fine, it's okay for all you firemen to keep going. They were saving lives by the second, literally digging out lives, right? A week later, the Environmental Agency came back on the site and they went, oh dear, oh no, this is horrific. Everybody needs to be masked immediately. But at that point, they had been unmasked for 7 days, and my brother Greg at that point went, there's no way I'm putting a mask on if it's going to limit my ability to rescue somebody or to save somebody. And, even, so my brother Greg died 13 years later, which a lot of first responders are dying. So Greg, 4 years ago, I was, in the world of wellness, and he got diagnosed with terminal, he thought he broke his rib. So he was coming off of a fire truck one night. He had just had 2 little baby boys, twins, and one of them actually was unwell. So Greg and I, even though despite me living here in Sydney and him being in New York, we were always attached by the hip. And so I talked to him every day or every other day, and I haven't heard from him for a couple of days. And I called my mom and I said, where is that bloody bastard of brother of mine? And she said, Shelley, it's weird, he went in for a broken rib. And and as soon as I heard that, my gut knew something was wrong. So I literally grabbed a backpack, and I didn't arrive back here in Sydney for 8 weeks. So because I became Greg's wingman, and because they said to him, they walked in, they said, I'm looking for Gregory Andre Chevalley. And he's 43, good looking. Lisa's standing there with the 2 babies, and the oncologist started crying. And we were like, this is so weird. And he said, Gregory, he said, you have terminal lung cancer. He said, you've got 3 months. And we all went, this guy's in the wrong room. Greg's here for a broken rib. And we kept him alive through true Chevalley force and will for 18 months. So I traveled back and forth for 18 months every 4 weeks. Took him to chemo, took him chemo shopping, did all amazing things. I have not one single regret of spinning my wheels. Crazy, talk about cortisol overload, alcohol overload, poor food choices, drowning myself in grief. But sometimes life happens like that. And so what was so weird about that part, Lizzie, is trying to keep him alive with every ounce in my body and keeping all of my family alive too. And those little babies, it was something out of a scene of a movie. In fact, we've been contacted many times to make a movie around Greg, which we will eventually do that. We're thinking about, we're not thinking about, we've talked to Richard Glover and different people about Greg's story. But when we do, there'll be a foundation set up so that the first responders, because there's thousands and thousands of first responders that are dying now, really quick, with these crazy kind of cancers that are in the pleural sac, which came from all the toxicity. So I don't regret any of that, not for a second, not for 1 second. What a joy to be the wingman, right? But what had happened was, interestingly, just the week after Greg died, I was on stage at Happiness and Its Causes in Sydney at Luna Park, and I gave a talk, which was my most favorite talk, which is Vitality, Energy, and Serotonin.
Amazing talk.
So speaking about how, from an evidence-based research perspective, not white witchcraft, real truths, how we can actually create additional serotonin and how we can minimize the risks of anxiety and depression just with our fourth, right? Even if it's 1%, Lizzie. So my greatest joy to be on stage, to be talking about this. But I got up on stage and there was no doubt, I still look at that video clip, oh my goodness, I was completely and totally unraveled. And a friend of mine from the media, from Channel 7, came over and said, wow, Michelle, you just really look like you've been beaten up. I don't even know how I got on stage, really. But hey, this is what I say to a lot of people. People that come to me and they go, Michelle, I don't know how I let myself gain this much weight or become pre-diabetic or be on medication or whatever. And I say to people, there's no beating yourself up. I said, you're here. Today's the start of a new journey. I said, awesome, we just take it one day at a time. And there's only moving forward. And there's going to be days where you do things wrong. And you're going to drink too much or you're going to eat too much. But you're going to learn to park it and pick back up at the next meal. I feel so full of gratitude, Lizzie, for what I do. So full of gratitude.
Thank you for sharing that story. What was that first step or steps? You know, you run off the stage that day. You probably feel like a bit of a shell of a person. Like, what did you still do start to do?
Well, I had to actually go back to all the things, of course, that I know to be true. So during that time, my business kept going. My first book had just been released. My practice had been kept going with the other nutritionists that run our clinic. But of course, I wasn't adhering to any of those things. I was sleeping poorly, eating poorly, drinking. I love drinking wine, but drinking a little bit too much wine affects me adversely. And the hardest thing for me, Lizzie, you know this because you've known me for a while, for me to recoil and to rebalance and go inward, get grounded and get silent and just bring it back in. So all of those things.
You are such a giver.
I love giving.
It
feeds my soul.
But
But I needed just to take a few weeks and just to rest, really rest, and to I love the word nourishment, right? So when I run cleanses, I call it cleanse and nourish. And journalists are always saying, "So Michelle, tell us about the Detox Program." And I go, no. It's all about nourishing. Add so much good into your life that you forget about the bad of the past, because nourishment can come in the form of really good food that tastes great. And if you haven't tried that, then you need to seek out wellness professionals like me that can provide that for you. But nourishment also comes in movement, getting quiet, being for a walk with your family, going for a nice lunch with your beautiful daughter, but just getting quiet. So I really needed to take that time and practice what I preach and go, well, that was a time that never in my wildest dreams. I have two brothers, and the three of us have always been a Chevalley sandwich, my younger brother and my older brother. There's a zillion photos of me in the middle of the two of them, and I'd always tell them, oh, I'm the best looking Chevalley. They're super tall and handsome and big smiles and just gorgeous, and never, I mean, it's one of those things in life that you never expect to happen, and it happens to all of us, unfortunately, at some point. And this is something I've always said to all of my patients. When this house is right, meaning mentally, physically, and emotionally, we are able to handle a lot of stuff, right? And so every day something's happening to all of us. Financial crisis, divorce, parents getting diagnosed with Alzheimer's, children having a hard time at school. Every day something's coming at all of us, right? So if this house is right, we're able to bounce a lot more than when this house is unstable and those things are coming at us. So I always say to people, come get your house right with us. It doesn't have to be a perfect house, but boy, and I know this to be true, Lizzie, because we have thousands of patients that will come back to us and see us years later, and they'll say, Michelle, we still do some of the things, or 75% of the things that you taught us. And that's a gift for me to hear that, because I don't want to be teaching a fad, Lizzie. I don't want to be teaching short-term change. I want to be giving people a whole entire toolkit of wellness and to say, yeah, food, sleep, energy, movement, it's everything we need to be packing in this toolkit.
Yeah. So where do you think we're going wrong? Because when you talk, I know we're all very busy, we've got these full lives, and there's all these wonderful, simple things you talk about doing, and yet so many of us aren't doing it for some reason. And whether that's food, exercise, what do you see most of us, how we're going wrong?
Well, I think firstly, as women, particularly women, men do this too, but as women, starting early on, I speak often at schools, and I have 3 children myself. One is people are beating themselves up too much. Yeah. So I think that's one thing that we've already spoken about, and we need to start shifting away from that and going, life isn't perfect, we're not perfect. If we fall off the rails, so what? You can't fail at this wellness. You just pick up the next day or the next meal. But one, doing, parking it or putting it someplace and moving on. I think that's first. I think the other thing that, again, I don't live in an ivory tower. I mentioned this to you. I ran marathons, half marathons. I really always enjoyed exercise, and I still do. I now use exercise in my wellness toolkit. I catch up with friends. I do HIIT training, which is quite effective. I do a lot of yoga, walking. I mixed it up. I make sure I get sunshine when I can while I'm exercising, if possible. But I don't over-exercise anymore. That's just another form of oxidative stress. That's just another form of cortisol overload. So, getting to the spin class and actually, people having arguments about the bicycles, and I was like, wow, there's spin rage going on here. And then I'm on the bicycle and I'm coming off, and just too much. Learning to not chase my weight with exercise.
This is fascinating, and you sort of talk about this a bit in the book, with stress, exercise.
Yes.
You mentioned about something like going away on a holiday. What happens?
Okay, so that's a really, so it brings me to this whole okay, so when we're in that state of constantly going, we can talk about flight or fight kind of system and stuff like that, but just in basic layman's language, we get up in the morning, right? We get to the gym, we make sure the dog is fed, how's our children going, what's going on, over-exercise, all these kinds of things that are making our adrenal glands go, or cortisol go, all these kinds of things. So people wonder why we start to get issues with dysfunctional insulin, right? Because we're pushing out this glucose that's pushing out these, all this glucose, and the cell becomes aggravated because it's got too much insulin coming in. It's like, whoa, my insulin receptor is going to start to squeeze up the slippery dip. The glucose stays outside. So all of a sudden we end up getting, what the hell is this little tummy coming from, right? And it's purely from glucose cortisol overload, right? This whole stress. So I often ask women who say, Michelle, I don't understand. I've never really been somebody with a tummy. I'm getting a tummy now. And I'll say, could you be on stress overload? I ask them, and I said, and I'll ask everybody in the audience, are you the kind of person that goes away on holidays, right? And maybe you don't exercise as much. Maybe you eat a little bit too much. Maybe you even have a little bit too much to drink. And you come home, and all of a sudden you look on the scale, and maybe you've actually lost a little bit of weight. You thought for sure you were going to gain 1 or 2 kilos, and then I'll say to themselves, well, that absolutely tells me that you're on cortisol overload. So we've got a really good case study in there of Barbara, who's on cortisol overload. And again, that's I'd say 50% of our female patients suffer that, cortisol overload situation.
Yes, that's sounding a bit familiar to me.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And again, I say to anybody, if that's you out there, then okay, no beating yourself up around this. Let's just get started. Let's talk about your sleep. Let's talk about your stress and your nutrition. I mean, it's a three-pronged approach, right? Nutrition, sleep, and exercise. If you look at the thread of the healthiest people we know, they guard those three things with their life. They do not compromise. They do not apologize for leaving the party at 9:30 because they've had enough.
Yeah.
They just don't. They don't apologize because, in fact, if gluten doesn't work for them, they know what makes them a vital, productive, loving human being. And if you start to observe this now, you probably already know this, Lizzie. It's not that they're being pompous or they're being selfish.
Or good.
Yeah, or good.
Yeah.
They're being good to themselves so they can create the butterfly effect in their families. Because when you have that secret power, that secret thing, it's not even a secret, but if you guard those and protect those, boy, you can be so abundant in life with your brain power, with your energy, with your love, with your sharing.
Yeah, I love what you say about that, and how when you're this and this is all, you're giving back to yourself just what you are capable of coping with and of doing and getting out of your life and giving back to others, which is so what I see you doing. And if you looked at one little thing that you know that you do pretty much every day that you can see makes a big difference, you look back and you think, gosh, I've been doing that for a little while, I've made that little change, I've done that little thing, and over time I can really see that that has made that big difference. What do you reckon? Is there something that comes to mind?
It sounds funny, Lizzie, and people will know this to be true in my practice, is that I eat. And I enjoy eating. And when I was at my unhealthiest, and women who I see that are at their unhealthiest, there's a fear of food, right? Because they think, oh, if I eat too much, if I eat that. But no, when you eat in a clean way, in a whole food way, in a real way, you can eat joyfully and make your taste buds dance, and also to bring back the love of food in my family and community, where we're trying to, all of us, but to share a meal with your family and your kids and have conversations with your kids while you're chopping. And I come from an Italian family. My mother's Italian, my father's French, my husband's Australian. I know we're all kind of wacky, but I think letting go of the fear of food, bringing back the love of food, educating, and when I was studying to be a nutritionist, learning to go, yeah, you can eat this way and be healthy. I don't need to be skinny. I need to be vibrant. I need to be happy. I need to be balanced. I need my energy to go throughout the whole entire day. That's the sign of good health. I always say to young women, I said, the scale is just a measurement of gravity. It does not measure your good heart. It does not measure your vibrancy. It's just a number, right? I say to these young girls all the time, look, again, the chills, right? I say to these young girls, you thought as a nutritionist I was coming to your school and I was going to mention weight. I said, I never mentioned weight. I said, because I'm going to get you all to think about the cheeky girl, the fun girl. I said, that's the girl, the healthy girl. I could tell you a million stories about that, Lizzie, that would make you cry, but fill my heart, right? But that is the truth. So if we can bring back this acceptance of food and make it fun and make it work for us mentally and physically and emotionally, whew, wow, what a world, right? If we can use that to underpin the many things in our lives, our friendship, our work productivity, our relationships with our families, we're winning.
Right? Didn't I tell you she was the most passionate person ever, who has also written this incredible book, The Australian Healthy Hormone Diet, and there is a beautiful page here, I mean, not only does it look beautiful, but the words in this, would you mind reading this out?
Sure.
To us all. This is at the end of this book, which is the 4-week reset, and there's all the eating plans and amazing recipes.
Yes. No, I might have to get my glasses.
Oh gosh.
Or
okay.
ask you. But I'll see.
Sorry,
No, that's okay.
there.
I don't know. Hey, this is real. I love doing things real
live.
So, okay. So I'll try to read this without crying, because you know I really get very emotional about my beautiful world.
Mm-hmm.
That's the other thing, Lizzie, I do on a day-to-day basis, is always remind myself how crazy lucky I am. Like seriously full of gratitude. Mm-hmm. I'm passionate about preventative wellness, taking steps today to ensure good health into the future. And the only way to do that is to make change, one day at a time. Change takes courage and sometimes feels uncomfortable at first. But now you've discovered that food and lifestyle work for you. Please continue along this path. At your fingertips in this book are the tools created to create a clean slate and a sustainable energies, improved brain clarity, weight management, and balanced hormones. You can also continue your journey with me by visiting my website or coming to our closed Facebook site called the Healthy Hormone Rebalance. Please come join us.
I'll put all those links up.
It is my hope in this rebalance and the very first steps that you take towards a long journey of good health and feeling the very best version of you that you can feel.
Beautiful. Thank you.
No, thank you, Lizzie, for having me.
That. Shall we do a quick little 2-minute move
let's
before we
do
go?
it.
Because I wanted to do this one with you. One, because this is like the most beautiful couch and you just have to be on it. But the idea of when you are feeling quite stressed out and you think, you know what, I don't have the energy to exercise, to go out there and do a high intensity workout, or maybe you just feel like crashing on the couch, that's what your body's telling you to do. The idea, and you can do these moves if you watching Netflix or something like that, just to still give a little bit of love back to yourself, to work on your strength and your lengthening through your body. And the idea is to do Pilates on the couch. So we're going to call this a little couch Pilates. You are going to stretch your gorgeous long legs out there. So come sit a bit more towards me. Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Look at
my arm?
You know that you were like the most stunning, beautiful woman ever, don't you? You see that? I hope when you go to the mirror now and put on your mascara, you are there full body, just celebrating yourself.
Thank you.
So, here you go. Legs are out, right?
Okay.
You are going to see if you can lift both legs up at the same time and then take them on down again, So to do it, you get this little pull in of your tummy muscles. So it's this tiny little move. You could do this if you were here reading a magazine, watching TV, so many little moments. Reading to your kids.
I like it. I can feel that.
Yeah. Right. So this is like a beautiful Pilates move. If you get uncomfortable, you can come all the way down.
Okay.
And lie down and do it. But what it does is really connect deeply into your core muscles. Rather than sometimes those crunches just work on the surface. Six-packy type of thing. It's like your philosophy. Go a bit deeper and so lift up and down there. Yeah.
And that area, after hosting 3 babies on the couch, and one of them was 10 pounds. That area needs, for me, that's an area that needs this love.
Yes, okay, great. So now what else we're going to do, because it's so important as we get older to work on our strength as well, right? So sometimes we don't want to head to the gym or anything. This is a one-arm push-up.
Okay.
Right, so it's just a little bit different, but sometimes it's nice to do something that's a bit, different, fun. Okay. So you're going to have this hand down to your couch, right? Okay, now this one is going to come around here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, okay. Here we go.
Okay.
Yep, and now you're going to bend that elbow and then lift on up. There you go. Bend and lift, and look at that muscle. Holy moly, that is so beautiful. You want to lift up through this part of your body as well, because you've worked the other side. Now we're going to lift through there, up and down. Look at that amazing arm. There you go. And speaking of balance, when you do single things, it means that sometimes if you're doing, you can stop for a second, if you're doing a regular push-up, right, and you're really strong on, you have a dominant side, that side is going to take all the weight. And then you get this other side that starts to get weaker and weaker, and you create imbalance in your body. Whereas this sort of thing with a single arm push-up means that if you've got one side that's weaker, you'll see it if we were to turn around the other side and do it. You're like, oh, that side's so much weaker. So you're still doing that side and strengthening, creating that balance. So there's two little moves for you to do
I love that.
next time you're on this gorgeous couch. So you swing around and do the other side.
But I love the whole concept of 2-minute moves. I love it, just lubricating those joints and moving. Get moving.
That's
Get that lymphatic system going. Engage those endorphins.
And realize that even taking these little moments, and you might think to yourself, well, there's no point. You know, what's the point of doing a couple of minutes here and there? It's like saying, what's like a little bit of gratitude in the morning really going to do for me? What's this, few red lolly snakes really going to do for me? But what happens is over time they do add up to making a difference. And you realize that each moment that you take to nourish yourself, nurture yourself, and give back to yourself, each of those moments really do count in building up that strength and that wellness and that happiness and all those things that you talk about when you speak to your clients. And in this beautiful book that I tried to coordinate my outfit to match today.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for sharing all of that today, for doing the moves with me, for writing this incredible book. Where can everyone get it?
So if you go to www.healthyview.com, you can get it there. You can listen to some really good case studies as well, but you can buy it online, or you can go to any bookstore, Dimmicks, Booktopia, most bookstores, and I think Big W and Target are even having it. And if you know somebody, we'll make a nice Mother's Day present as well.
Perfect Mother's Day present. And I'll pop all the links here, so you can just click on that and grab this book. You certainly you'll read it and you'll find those little things that you can go, I can do that. I really can do that.
And really yummy recipes.
The recipes are so good.
And I think the thing is about the recipes too is that they are easy to cook, easy to find ingredient, and don't take that long. Again, it has to be doable. I look at some recipes and I go, gee, I'd like to make that if I had all the time in the world and buy all organic things. And I'm not dismissing that, but sometimes it's got to be easy, tasty, and affordable. And then it's repeatable.
I love it. Thank you so much. So wonderful to have you here with us live or watching back the replay. And what a woman. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Lizzie. That's so kind of you.
Thank you. All right, we'll see you for another 2 Minute Moves TV episode very soon. I'm going to run out now. Bye.